Today I want to talk about a topic that has been a point of contention for a very long time in the academic community and basically amongst young people. For a long time, we have been debating as to whether or not school is relevant to our success or it is not. Now, I don't understand why this is a debate because, regardless of whether you agree with the academic structure or you don't, school is still very relevant in everything that we do. And I'm going to give you a few reasons why. So, one, human beings, and this is probably the biggest reason, human beings absolutely cannot be trusted with their own academic future. And they cannot be trusted to learn the things that they need to learn in order for them to survive. You can debate what they need to learn, why they need to learn it, but you cannot debate the fact that they need to learn. Now, don't get me wrong, not everything that you're going to learn in school will be relevant to your life. But the idea is that these curriculums are built in such a way that they're supposed to formulate a foundation for everyone so that everybody has a starting point when they leave school. Because you need to understand that when you are in class studying algebra or you're studying geography, if you have no intention of using geography or algebra, or if you have no intention of using, particle physics or any complicated subjects that you're currently doing, if you have no intention of using that, you need to take into consideration the fact that there is somebody in your class who might find that information valuable, and that person might even be you in the future because you might change your mind. And because you've built a foundation, you'll be able to build on top of that foundation and learn more things. But today we're going to focus on universities. Now, going to college is somewhat of a debate. Do we need to go to the university after we do our foundation education, which is either a primary and high school or grade school and high school, depending on which part of the planet you're from? All of that is absolutely necessary. High school is necessary, primary school is necessary, grade school is necessary. All of that is absolutely necessary. University is where everybody really has the debate going on. Like, the question is, do you need to go to university? And the answer to that is still yes. You do need to go to university. One of the things that makes it very irrelevant, or why some people feel like it's irrelevant to go to university, is because when they leave school, a lot of the things that they learned even at the university are not very applicable in their real lives or even in their careers. And now, here's the challenge. The world in which we operate is moving at a very fast pace, and academic institutions are having a very hard time keeping up with that world. And I will give you an example of the ICT industry. Tech moves at such a fast pace that by the time you have written a curriculum for a particular piece of technology, that piece of technology has been rendered irrelevant by a new piece of technology. And so it is very difficult for ICT institutions to keep up with the ever-changing knowledge and with the ever-changing information. And so it becomes very difficult for them to build curriculums that are present and relevant for the people who are studying. So all they end up doing is helping you create a foundation of skills that will then allow you to go and research and learn your own things. And that's why a lot of people, especially in the tech industry, when they finish school, they feel like they've learned more outside of school than they have ever learned in school. And yet the idea of school is just to give you a foundation of where to start learning from. Second thing that is absolutely necessary for you to understand is that school is a way of showing that you actually learned, or at least you attended the classes, or at least you showed up. Now, it is very difficult for you to step into some industries without an academic background. I'll give you a very simple example. Imagine if you had to choose between a doctor who spent 5 to 6, maybe 7 years in school, or a guy who learned how to prescribe medication off the internet and off YouTube. If you had to pick those two people, who would you pick? Most likely you're going to pick the guy who actually went to school. And so even if both of them learned technically the same thing, you have no proof, you have no way of proving that the guy who watched a bunch of videos on YouTube is an expert, because he was not around enough mentors and he was not around a structured environment in which to learn. Because the thing about academic institutions is that they provide more than just the information you're picking up. They provide you with access to mentors, to people who have been in your industry, to people who have done what you're going to do. Especially in the world of medicine, there is something you do called placement, whereby they put you in a place and you do an internship under the mentorship of people who have been in that industry for a very long time. It's very difficult for somebody who did not attend any type of academic institution to prove to you that he went through internship, he went through mentorship, he went through all of those things when he has nothing to prove but the knowledge that is in his head, and of which you can debate the quality of that knowledge because you have no access to it. But with academic institutions, you can see their curriculum, you can see what everybody's learning, and you can vet the quality of the students based off of the quality of their curriculum and based off of what they are learning and who is teaching them. 3, the third thing would be and this is probably the most important thing, there is no system that has guaranteed more success amongst people than the academic institutions that some of us have grown to hate today. Okay? There is no system in the world that has guaranteed more success than education. None. There's no billionaire who has given enough advice to make more billionaires. No. There's no mentor, there is no success guru who will give you more success than an academic institution will. There is none. Academic institutions have been responsible for raising more people out of poverty than almost any type of learning that has appeared globally. There is nobody, absolutely nobody, no billionaire, no mentor, no guru who has created more success in the world over, than academic institutions. And there is no billionaire who has created more uniformity of knowledge than academic institutions. The reason why you can be comfortable going from Uganda to India for an operation, or going from America to England for surgery, is because you understand that all of these institutions came together and agreed that this is what we're going to do. And because of that, the competence levels of the people in this world greatly increased. And because of those competence levels going up, people were able to get jobs that lifted them out of poverty. There is, and I'll say this for the last time, there is no person, absolutely no person, who has created more wealth than the academic institutions that we take for granted today. Yes. So if you're enjoying the content and you're enjoying the video, feel free to like and subscribe, and always do not forget to leave a comment. I really want to hear your opinion on some of these videos, and it will help me find a direction as to what type of content you might want me to do next. So that being said, yes, they might be falling behind, and I'll get to that towards the end of the video, but at the end of the day, there is no system that has lifted more people out of poverty than education. Because if you're not educated, it is very, very difficult for you to get a high-paying job and for you to be able to push forward in your career. Another point is there are a lot of incompetent students today. There are a lot of students who don't do any type of research before they pick an academic career, or sorry, before they pick an academic program. There are a lot of students who decide that, you know what, I'm going to study English literature, and they have nowhere to apply that. There are a lot of students who study bogus courses and they have no plan after university as to where they're going to apply that information and where they're going to get jobs for the information that they're learning. And so, because you have this uptake, because you have this skyrocketing number of people who are picking up BS courses, there is a higher and higher number of unemployed individuals who went to school and are educated in BS courses and cannot find jobs anywhere. And so if these people perhaps picked courses that were actually beneficial to the world and actually provided value to their society, they would be able to find jobs. But they did not. So they end up becoming part of the statistic of people who are having a hard time finding jobs even after going to school. So before you take shots at the academic institutions, you need to understand that what courses did these individuals pick? These individuals who are complaining about unemployment, who are complaining about they can't find a job, what course did they pick? What did they actually go to learn? If they want to learn BS, they're not going to find any work. Nobody's employing that shit. And so I will make this final conclusion as far as the universities are concerned and what they need to do in order to change the narrative, in order to change mindsets of a lot of young people. One, a lot of academic institutions should become a lot faster in updating their curriculums. And making them more friendly, but also making them more relevant to the current economic demands of the world. If that is something that is done, it will encourage more and more people to get to get the vast majority of their knowledge from schools. On top of that, they need to start employing, or they need to start bringing more mentors who have practical skills to these institutions. And I do applaud a lot of institutions who bring very successful people to come and talk to students. That is amazing. But you need to create an environment in which, if you have a professor who is teaching business, at the very least let him have a successful business. Or at the very least, at some point in the student's life in school, they should interact with a number of people who have had successful businesses, especially if they're someone who is studying business in school. This will help increase the quality of their education, because they're getting not just what the curriculum says they should get, but they're also getting some insights into how the world really operates outside of what the academic world is teaching them. And so, in conclusion, I do believe that academic institutions still have too much to provide us. Too much in terms of knowledge, too much in terms of social skills, too much in terms of connections, and they are a great place to build friendships. But most importantly, the paperwork they give you is at least proof that you went and learned. And if you don't have, in some, like I said, in some circles, if you don't have proof that you actually went and learned something, nobody's going to believe you. And it's going to become even harder for you to validate everything that you've learned without any type of practical applications, or if you haven't actually done it in the real world. Because if you're saying that you're going to learn medicine by watching a few YouTube videos, or reading a few articles on the internet, and you think you're a medical doctor, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. But like I said, for those of you who are not in those fields that are built on necessity, on the necessity of going to school, for example, if you are not a doctor, lawyer, accountant, engineer, basically any type of medical field or any type of engineering, if you're not in the STEM fields, then perhaps you might be able to survive without an academic paper. Depending on where you go, you might be able to survive without one. And I understand, especially for the Americans who have a very hard time finding the urge or finding a solid reason to go to the university because of the very high cost of education in the US. And on top of that, the fact that when you graduate with a mountain of debt. In Africa, a lot of us don't relate to that. So for us, there's no argument outside going to school. There's no argument about it. We all have to, because the beauty about, I think, being African is that all of our education is paid for by our parents from basically from kindergarten up until we finish the university. So we graduate from university without any debt. In the US, you take in a lot of debt. So I would urge you, one, pick a course that is actually going to pay you, that you're actually going to be able to make money off of after you graduate. And two, if it is too expensive to do it in your country, consider going to a cheaper country that has more or less the same level of education. Or you could simply go to a country that has free education. If you can afford to take on $50,000, $100,000 worth of debt, you can afford to borrow $10,000 and go to a country where education might be free. So that being said, I still believe in education. All it needs to do is update itself as quickly as possible in order to remain relevant in a fast-paced changing world. That being said, I do not believe that anybody should be making an argument against education, because anyone who tries to make an argument against education also has to make an argument against all of the benefits that education has brought us. And if you can't argue all of the benefits that it has brought us, like the global unity it has created, the fact that we all understand the same type of accounting, we all understand the same type of medicine, we all understand the same type of engineering, I believe that you don't have an argument. So unless you can argue everything education has brought, you cannot argue education by itself. So that's my opinion. Feel free to let me know what you think in the comments.